fire that only one man can extinguish. I mean, all I've been thinking about is a certain cologne and big brown eyes and strong hands and how I want them all over me. You know what I'm saying?
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to The Fifth Flow. My whole goal in doing this is to talk to you about Martin episodes so that you can go back and watch those episodes with new eyes. I'm going to go ahead and actually give you trivia, things that you might not have noticed, different guest stars, cameos, and different behind the scenes production things so that you can look at those episodes in a brand new light. Because, Martin show was a phenomenon in the 90s. I loved it. It's my favorite show. And if you're here with me, you're the same. So let me tell you a little bit about the episode Radio Days. Now, Radio Days premiered November 19th, 1992, has a runtime of 22 minutes, and pulled in a strong ratings of 18.4 million viewers, which was phenomenal at that time as the show continued to rise and rise in the ratings numbers. Now, this particular episode was shot 13th in production, and it actually did meet the 13th release date for season 1 of Martin. It was actually directed by Tony Singletary, written by Lisa Rosenthal. Here's a synopsis for Radio Days. Stan decides to hire Monica Hurd, a new female co-host for Martin's show, to boost the station's ratings. As they work together, Martin finds that he has taken a liking to the lovely Monica and tries to resist the temptation to be with her. So here we have a premise of maybe challenging Gina and Martin's relationship a little bit, and wrapped up in the context of work where they have to be around each other. So it definitely has potential to really put things out there, right? Now, before I actually dive into the episode, I want to go ahead and actually talk about the cast in this one, because this is an unusual cast list or a long cast list to kind of look at who was actually on this particular episode. Now, of course, out of our main cast list, we actually have Martin, Gina, Cole, Tommy, Stan, and Sean. The only regular that's not on here is, again, Pam. Suspiciously missing, again, from another one of these early first season television programs. I'm not sure exactly why she wasn't in a lot of episodes, but this is one that I think really would have benefited from her being on. But that being said, those are our main people. Now, Martin is also going to go and actually give us our first appearance by Old Otis. Old Otis is an old security officer that seems to be working every security job in Detroit. He wears ridiculously thick bifocals. He's got buck teeth, got a huge gap in there. He's got a beer belly, and he's wearing always wearing this security brown officer's fit, whatever you want to go and actually call it, with flooded pants, white socks, and black shoes. Like, that's just what he goes and actually lays down. But the crazy thing about it is that with his age and the way that he looks, you wouldn't think that Otis would actually be that threatening, but he actually really sees a lot of different things that are going on, and he has that low tolerance for foolishness, and he has old school old man strength. So when push comes to shove, Otis can go ahead and actually give it to you. But this is Otis's first appearance in Martin. Now, let's talk about some of the rest of the cast of the guest stars in here. The main guest star who is playing Monica Hurd in this is Kim Fields, the legendary Kim Fields. Now, she's an actress and director who carries credits starting in the 70s to current day. She's known for The Facts of Life, Living Single, and What to Expect When You're Expecting. Her latest role is in the Netflix series The Upshaws. Now, her fun fact is that her name in this particular episode is Monica Hurd, Hurd, and that's actually the same surname as her stepfather, Irv Hurd. I'm not gonna make fun of that man's name. Hey, he raised a talented young lady, but Irv Hurd, and she wouldn't actually took on that last name on this. So I thought that was like a fun fact that I found about that. So that's who we have guest starring in this particular episode. The other accredited role that we have of someone that's making their second appearance is Jerry Gray as the receptionist. We're going to see her playing that. You might know her later on as Miss Jerry. She did appear in a previous episode. She was unaccredited. Here is her first accredited role in Martin. So we have her there, and that might be a trivia fact of what has one of the roles that Miss Jerry is actually portrayed doing here. She was kind of like a registrant for this particular convention that's going on in this particular episode. Now, for the long list of people, because in the basis of this entire episode is meeting at a 1992 radio convention of like who's who in radio. So here are the people that are accredited, and I want you to go and pay attention to the people who are accredited, and then we'll talk about some of the people that weren't accredited that didn't get the credit for actually appearing. So credit was first is Vinnie Brown. He was actually a radio program director in New York. He had a speaking role in this. Bonnie DeShong, radio personality from WGCI in Chicago. And she had a little minor speaking role. Well, all these people had minor speaking roles that actually have credit. At least most of them did. Next person I have is Frank Lozano. It's a radio personality at KPWR Power 106 in LA. He was in this. And then the last credited person was Russ Parr. Now, Russ Parr is known as an American radio DJ, film director, writer, actor, and television personality, known for television shows like Rock in America. At the time of this particular episode, he was at KJMZ 100.3 in Dallas, Texas at the time. So he was in a line within that. So those are the people that are credited. Obviously, they were probably big in radio at the time. I hadn't heard of any of these people, but the fact is that they actually had that. But take a look at a couple people that were unaccredited. One person that was unaccredited is Mark S. Allen, who's a radio personality in Southern California. I had never heard of him before, so that wasn't a big deal. But the next two, we'll definitely go ahead and actually call out. One, Mr. Tom Joyner. Now, those of you that are probably over the age of 30, 35 or so, have probably heard this man at some point in time in your life. Tom Joyner is an American radio personality, host, philanthropist, former musician, who was a host of nationally syndicated The Tom Joyner Morning Show. Now, here's really like the Tom Joyner Show was all over the U.S. in the 90s and the early 2000s, what have you. But the ridiculousness, I did not know this until a few years ago, but in 1983, Joyner became a morning host at KKDA FM. And then a couple of years later, he was offered an afternoon show in WGCI FM in Chicago. But, Dallas, down in Texas, Chicago, way up there, you're talking about what? Good 1,000, 1,800 miles apart, whatever the case may be. He's offered two different ones. You think that he's going to go and actually do, pick one or the other. Instead of choosing between the two, Joyner chose to take the Chicago position while simultaneously remaining at the Dallas station. For 8 years, from 1985 to 1993, he commuted daily by plane between the two cities, earning him the nicknames the Fly Jock and the hardest working man in radio. Now, I don't know about you, but there would have to be some serious money for me to consider commuting every day from Dallas to Chicago. Every day, getting on the air, talking to people. Couldn't have done it. That man definitely deserves the title of hardest working man in radio. To do that for like 7-8 years, crazy. But that's Tom Joyner. Again, unaccredited, but he was in that line. And probably either the second or most famous person, depending on your walk of life, that was unaccredited, Wendy Williams. Now, Vinnie Brown actually mentioned her because she was right behind him there, but she didn't really have a speaking role, and she's unaccredited here. But Wendy Williams, plenty of people know that name nowadays. At the time, she was working at Kiss FM in New York City, and she's an American former broadcaster, media personality, and author who went on to mainstream fame with her syndicated show, Wendy Williams Show, which was a gossip / talk show, daytime talk show. And to have those two people be more famous than all the other folks put together, in my estimation, it's just crazy that they weren't given a credited role. And it's not neither here nor there. It's not like they're not actors or anything like that, but I just find that just such an intriguing thing on this particular episode. So that is the rundown. So we open up with our first scene, and that is at the outside of the entrance to the 1992 radio convention. We actually have a bunch of radio personalities there. And here we get our first look at Otis. And I kind of gave you the description earlier on, right? But Otis is there. He's not as friendly, and he's actually probably a little bit more mean or whatever here. Still filling out the character, whatever. But he does have his signature phrase on there.
Let's just keep on moving, people. Let's just keep on moving. You don't want to get Otis mad.
And I think from the biggest thing on here of him interacting with different people or whatever, him being just his goofy self or what have you, is from a continuity standpoint, this being first, you really shouldn't see this first because you see a lot of the personalities that get in after this are actually shown to be going in behind him. And so from a continuity standpoint, it doesn't make sense to actually show this first. I think we all know the reason why they're doing it logistically is because Martin and Otis can't be in the same place at the same time. But it's kind of weird to me because they seem to never actually do the dual screen thing with Martin. They did it in the first episode with him and Mama Payne being in his apartment, what have you. But I don't recall any other times where Martin characters are on this in the same place at the same time, where they do it a split screen where they kind of talking to each other. Now I don't know if that's because of scheduling, if that was a time frame thing, or if they didn't want to explore that difficulty or whatever. But it's just really interesting that they do that. And here, I think we had a situation where they want to introduce Otis as being a security guard or what have you, but then kind of filmed it out of sorts and just kind of like randomness. And I thought that was just interesting that they went and actually did that. So that is the first scene, and then we cut into the credits, and we get into our normal thing, and then we get into the second scene, which is really showing us the outside of the convention. Here we see some radio personalities that are known both regionally and nationally known. I ran down them in the very beginning. If you missed those, go ahead and actually check out the beginning. But we actually have Vinnie Brown introducing him and Wendy Williams right here. Bonnie DeShong, she said who she is, whatever. Martin's right behind, and he's like, this is his hometown. The convention is happening in Detroit, and he's checking the list with Miss Jerry, who's actually taking the register, and he's giving his signature phrase, "What's up?"
Pain in the house, WZUP, Detroit's in the house,
and whatnot. And she's like, "Look, you ain't on here." And it's our first tussle that we see of Martin tussling with Miss Jerry, and she ain't having it. She's a tough cookie, and she ain't having it. Gets him out of line, like, you are not on this list. Of course, everybody else kind of cracking a little laugh, whatever, like he thought she was big and whatnot, get on up out of line. So as he gets out of line, the next person to go, I think that's like Frank Lozano and whatnot, and they continue on going back and forth. So it's crazy that you see Martin, having to be thrown out, but he also should have known Stan is his boss. So Stan appears and tells Martin, "I wasn't paying the interest for you to go ahead and actually get up in there. It's $25. $25. Stan is the cheapest person ever." And instead of him going and actually paying that, they have a scheme for Sean is breaking into the back, going to go ahead and actually get them a couple of brooms or whatever to sneak them in the back as like hired help. That's how he's going to get into this radio convention or what have you. So Stan ducks off wherever he's going to go and actually be at, and Martin bumps into Miss Monica Hurd, who is a fellow radio personality visiting from Florida, coming to this convention, and she is just a lovely human being. Kim Fields always has been. I've never seen that woman look ugly at all. But her, offering to let Martin come on in on her guest pass or whatnot, and she's visiting, and he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm gonna come in with the MVPs and all that kind of stuff later on. So don't worry about that. But she goes ahead and actually smiles with him, and then goes on inside. Meanwhile, Stan is like, "Hey, do you know who you was just talking to?" He's like, "Nah, that's Monica from Florida. She's looking to jump ship, and I'm gonna try and go ahead and actually get her to our radio station." Martin is a little doubtful that that's even gonna happen because he knows how cheap Stan is. But just as they're going to contemplate that, we see Sean with this foolishness of him with the Chef Boyardee hat saying, "I got the brooms. Come on, y'all. Come on back here and scheme." And Martin really didn't want to go and actually mess with Stan's schemes. Why does he always go along with them? Just like, my guy, you could go ahead and actually end all that stuff by just telling Stan no. But I guess radio station, he likes the limelight and just kind of figures this is enough excuse. But that's where the first scene ends. And kind of tell me what you're thinking down below there. I think that all those cameos and things like that was actually just really interesting thing and what have you. But now I'm going to go ahead and actually break to go ahead and actually give you a little bit of the global news that was going on during the premiere of this particular episode in 1992. Stay tuned for that global news, and then we'll be back to break down the next scene in this particular episode. If you don't want to deal with that, check out the timestamp below. And now your global news from the week of November 13th through November 19th, 1992. On Saturday, November 14th, Vietnam air disaster by via Vietnam Airlines Flight 474 crashed into a mountain near Nha Trang during Typhoon Forest, resulting in the deaths of 30 of the 31 people on board. Elsewhere, in Northern Ireland, pro-British extremists carried out a machine gun attack on a bookmaker's shop in Belfast, killing 2 people and injuring 13 others. And in the beginning of the week, on Monday, November 16th, UN inspections in Iraq by UN nations announced the destruction of the last 100 tons of high-strength steel used by Iraq for enriching uranium, part of the ongoing effort to dismantle Saddam Hussein's nuclear program. If that information sounds similar in 2026, yes, it does, doesn't it? But that's what we have for global news. And now, back to the Martin breakdown. All right, welcome back. So now the next scene is next day or two. It's hard to kind of tell the time dilation on there, but we're probably like at least, no, we're actually probably the next day because at the radio station, Martin is actually talking to Sean, and Sean says like, "Oh man, it was a wild party last night." And Martin's like, "Oh, you had a good time? You was wild out on there? You partied hard?" He's like, "Oh no, I got jumped by a couple dudes and I didn't wake up till this morning, but it was a wild party." I'm like, "Man, come on, Sean." And then again, Sean and Stan's interactions are just some great one-off types of things, and they're just pure comedy. Stan comes in and lets Sean know, like, "Hey, are you all right? I saw that you were getting jumped last night." And then, and he actually goes ahead and actually says this right here.
Sean, are you all right? When I saw those 2 guys hassling you in the alley last night, I was going to get out and help, but then the light changed.
Oh, man. Thanks, Stan.
You know how dog that's got to be to go ahead and actually do it. And Sean is accepting of Stan's remarks. That is crazy to me. I don't get it. But that's where we're at with that. And, Sean goes and actually start doing his thing and what have you. Also, take a look at Stan's fit before we get into the rest of the way that the scene breaks down. Just look at Stan's fit. I don't even know. Like, I don't know if Garrett Morris was going to the Goodwill or if he was pulling out stuff from way back in the day from his 70s fit. I don't know. But this is great. I'm going to say that he was going to, the Goodwill and just getting some old stuff and crazy stuff on there, or if the wardrobe was coming up with this. But man, he had some fits and they would just get wilder and wilder. But anyways, Stan going and actually telling Martin that he actually did get Monica Hurd, and she's going to be joining him on his particular program. She's going to take the female callers, he's going to take the male callers. And Martin is not down for this at all. Like, I like doing my show my way, and it's just me. I'm the star. And Stan said, "You better get used to it, because here it is." And here she comes on in, and she's really a lovely person. You could tell that it's in her nature in this particular character to be flirtatious and to kind of, disarm men with, her beauty, her rapport, all this kind of stuff on there. And, in the very beginning, it's not one of those types of things on there that is evident. But by the time that show that he, you could just tell that she's going to go and actually break him down, over a little bit of time. And the way we know that is because we dilate to about a week later on this particular program, and they are co-hosted together, like everything's seamless, whatever, having a discussion. And the discussion is actually quite humorous about the difference between having a male president and a female president and what they would go and actually do. And we go into some stereotypes and all that kind of stuff. But it was a good, conversation. They obviously have good rapport with each other in doing this. And they honestly, that I find hilarious is that her being so flirtatious and so cool and smooth and whatnot, it took her less than a week to go and actually do this. And I can't, you can't blame, Martin for going and actually following. So as they're ending this particular show for having a week been together or whatnot, and Sean doing like some weird things as a producer, trying to tell them like cut, all this kind of stuff. Sean's just like a weird engineer or whatever, right? But anyways, as they're signing off in the air, she, in her flirtatious nature, Martin is kind of taking this for like mixed signals of like, he's attracted to her because she's good looking, but he also is aware that he has, a serious relationship with Gina. And it's like, both things are working with this beautiful woman who's very flirtatious, very, open and talking and all that kind of stuff, but then having a very good relationship with a woman that looks good or whatever, and he's just like, he's sitting up there contemplating it. And it's funny because as she's getting ready to leave and she goes in and she gives him like a peck on the cheek or whatever, you can see in the background Gina sees the little peck. So Monica goes and actually exits on out. Here comes Gina. Martin's kind of caught off guard, like, hey, whatever. And I find it funny that Martin was like, just kind of like, trying to play that, like, oh, you just called me cheating or whatever. It was just a peck, but again, getting a peck by someone who ain't your girlfriend on there is going to get some questions told on there, and can't blame Gina for asking the questions. Now, before I kind of go on with the rest of this particular scene on there, this is like one of the times where I've seen like Gina truly looks like Sydney from House Party of the role she played on there. I don't know why, but it just popped to me and she looked like Sydney. I think Sydney more like House Party 2, so she kind of looks like in this little outfit or whatever. I don't know why that occurred to me watching this, but that's what she looks like. So anyway, she's confronting Martin on saying like, I thought that you told me that she was kind of ugly or whatever. And this is what Martin actually told Gina that she looks like.
I didn't look like a grandmother kiss, and she doesn't look much like a grandmother. In fact, Martin, she looks nothing like you said.
What did I say?
You said she looked like Cole in a dress.
She did, babe, on Tuesday. But the girl is making money now.
I'm like, Cole in a dress, my guy? Nah, you gotta do a little bit better than that. So, of course, Gina ain't having it, but it's not like she's jealous. She's just kind of putting them antennas up and letting Martin know, like, hey, call me, slow your roll, whatever, down. But it's actually honestly evident that she actually trusts him and has enough confidence in their relationship that she doesn't see this as a threat, which is like really cool. I think it's something really to go and actually speak about Gina's character. She knows her value and what she's worth and what she's bringing to the table, and she also trusts Martin to that degree of that they're having a good relationship or whatever. And I think that was really significant in this particular scene. But as the scene starts closing out, Martin is getting up his own head of like thinking that maybe Gina is really showed up there to kind of, even though he asked her to show up the previous night, he's sitting up there thinking like, oh, you came to spy on me, you thought I was dealing with this chick and whatnot. And it's just funny how he kind of got into his own head and whatnot and being accusatory. And it's that whole thing of people going actually projected onto other folks. That's what Martin was doing there. Is absolutely hilarious. So that's where that scene ends. We kind of know that things are bubbling underneath there for Martin. So before we get to the next scene, just know I'm about to go ahead and actually break down of some domestic headline news in America and also a couple of pieces of culture news headlines. And again, if you don't want to hear any of that, time steps down below, but I'll fill you in on that and then I'll break down the next scene. In domestic news in the United States of America, the major domestic news just surrounded on the winning of the presidential election by Bill Clinton and him beginning the process of getting his cabinet members and meeting with the outgoing president, President Bush. So that was the main news headline domestically. However, one of the things to go ahead and actually point out is reports from the American Petroleum Institute revealed that for the first time in years, the United States was importing more than 50% of the oil it consumed, sparking a debate on energy independence. Again, a subject matter that has gone on for a lot of years in the U.S. Now, in the culture news, on Tuesday, November 17th, we will remember that in one of the biggest pop culture events of the decade, DC Comics released Superman number 75. What was significant about that? It featured the death of Superman at the hands of the monster Doomsday. The issue sold millions of copies and made international news. I believe this was the first time that Superman died. It would definitely not be the last. So that's it for domestic and culture news. And now back to the Martin breakdown. So in the next scene, we're at Martin's apartment in his living room, maybe like a day or two later, what have you. And Tommy, he brings him there so that he can go and actually talk to his guys about how he feeling, saying that he loves Gina, he loves their relationship and everything like that. But he also admits like, this Monica chick, I want to knock her boots. Now, this was actually I don't know if a lot of people know this on there, but that was a fairly recent phrase that came about. And if anybody knows anything about knocking boots, that was actually something that was really made famous by the song H-Town, It was called Knocking the Boots. Now, if you don't know what that means, then I suggest you go and actually look up the Urban Dictionary, what have you. But again, Martin's saying that he really wants to get down with her and whatnot, and so he is of two minds, just kind of going back and forth. And Tommy and Cole play the devil and the angel on his shoulder type of thing. Cole says, hey, you meant to, you a man, going out there and conquer and do what you got to go and actually do. And of course, Tommy being more pragmatic of saying, look, you got a good relationship with Gina. This is, yes, she may be a beautiful woman, but so is Gina, and you've put in time right here. You love her. This is where your focus should be. And so they're kind of having that, back and forth thing while they're having this discussion. Gina knocks on the door, comes on in. She's coming to go and actually bring Martin. It was a surprise visit of bringing him some lunch or what have you, and it was just out the blue. And with that, Tommy takes the signal like, hey, we gonna get out y'all here, let y'all have a little discussion and whatnot. Him and Cole bounce, and there's Martin talking to Gina, kind of reaffirming. He's trying to talk himself into saying like, hey, it's me and you, I love you, and all that kind of stuff. She's like, I know, she could feel something that's not quite right with him and whatnot, but at the same time, he's not giving her any information or what have you. But you can see the struggles going on with him of seeing someone that he's really attracted to, that there's a spark there with them and all that kind of jazz. And this was actually really strong writing of showing the dynamic of, a little bit of, not necessarily fracture in a relationship, because there's nothing that really fractures in there, but that there's this doubt that happens, especially when you're younger in relationships. It can happen in any relationship of just situations. Relationships are always fragile. And here they're writing a character that, Martin sees every single day, vibes with, looks good and all that kind of stuff. And he has, a different relationship with Gina at home, but yet he's thinking about this and that. And I think it was a well-written scene here to play that off of. Now, it would have actually been better that this is the scene that I think it would have been great if she would have shown up with Pam, because Pam would have been there coming in, that if Martin's guys are there and stuff like that, that Pam would have kind of exit them out or something like that. Like, it's kind of crazy to me that she's just so absent in a lot of these episodes or whatever, that she would have definitely, this has been a great scene for her to be in. But I digress. So that's where we're ending the season, that particular episode, or we end that scene there. And Martin has kind of resolved himself that he's got to reject Monica, and he's got to go and actually do that before he loses his nerve. And that's where the scene ends. So we're going to go ahead and actually get to that next scene. Just so you know, I'm about to go and actually do the music and movie reviews. I think a lot of y'all like that, to go and actually let you know what's the top movies and top music when this particular episode dropped. And after that, we'll go and actually review the last couple scenes in this particular episode. And now for your top 5 Billboard music songs during the week of November 13th through the 19th, 1992. Number 5, Rum Shaker by Rex and Effect. Number 4, If I Ever Fall in Love by Shy. Number 3, I Die Without You by PM Dawn. Falling out of the number 1 spot into number 2 slot, End of the Road by Boyz II Men, ending its 13-week reign at number 1. And what was the song to supplant it? How Do You Talk to an Angel by The Heights. Now, this reached number 1, and it made one of the rare instances where a fictional band from a television series topped the Hot 100 charts. So those are the top 5 songs that we have during that week. Now, let's go ahead and actually see what's going on the movie front. And now, your top 5 movies during the week of the 13th through the 19th. Number 5, The Mighty Ducks. Number 4, Under Siege. Number 3, A River Runs Through It. Number 2, Passenger 57. And number 1, debuting at number 1, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Those are your top movies for the week. And now, back to your Martin breakdown. So we flash to the radio station, and it's like the end of the second week. And Monica is kind of, you could tell that she's got a lot on her mind. They just ended the radio program for the end of that second week. And she's still being flirtatious, but she's also kind of telling Martin, like, man, you ever had somebody that, that you just feel something for them or what have you, and it's all the wrong timing, and, you feel these urges and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Martin's like, yeah, that's how I feel, and all this kind of stuff. And she keeps, going on about it. And just one of the funniest, like quick little scenes right here of her describing her, cardinal desires, as it were.
Have you ever met someone special, but the timing was all wrong?
Yes.
There's somebody that drives you wild, but you know that you can never have them.
Yes.
Martin, you feel this way too?
I do. I do.
Man, I don't know how much longer I can lie alone in my bed at night on fire, dreaming and needing and wanting.
Aching?
Yes.
And so right there, so I understand that if I was Martin, I would have been thinking like, okay, she is definitely talking about me and her, and that was right there. But before Martin gets a chance, like he's starting to try and break to her, like, hey, I got a girlfriend, I love her, and Monica's like, yeah, I know you got that, I know you're in love with her, and I'm in love with Stan. Oh, and for the rest of this particular scene, Martin is like stunned, like, oh, cheap Stan, oh, pimp suit wearing Stan, you're in love with him. And she's, for her, she must have daddy issues or something. I don't know how Stan is the one or what have you. But the fact is that that's what she's attracted to, and he rejected her. He said no, he don't want nothing to do with her. And so she's embarrassed at this point. She's saying, I can't, continue to work here, knowing that, he rejected me and all this kind of stuff. And she goes ahead and actually says her goodbye to Martin. And he's just incredulous. Again, like I said, through this entire scene, he is just like, wait, what? Stan said no to you? And it is unbelievable. I'm sorry. It's probably the most unbelievable thing that you could go and actually write or whatever. But she gives Martin a little peck, and then she's gone. It's funny when she goes in there, Martin kind of dries a little bit of a tear, off of like, because he's like had feeling like, oh my God, and then Stan goes ahead and she comes on in and asks if Monica's gone. He's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, thank God, she was stalking me, looking me up in my eyes and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, dude, like, you rejected her? That woman, that you rejected her? And then Stan says the most Stan thing ever of saying, what would I want with a beautiful young woman? I like my women old, fat, and ugly. My guy. I mean, I guess if you got a type, you got a type, right? But that's what happened, and it was done, and and that was the end that we see of Monica Hurd. And now we're to the last scene of the episode. We're actually later in Martin's apartment in the bedroom where he and Gina are. And Gina's kind of asking him, you were attracted to Monica, weren't you? And he was like, what? No. And she's like, come on now. Come on, I can see it, and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, look, it's nothing wrong. We still have a strong relationship or whatever, and I trust you, and you should trust me, and all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of leads to where, like, she's saying, like, hey, I've been attracted to dudes at my job. And he was like, oh, for real? And it's always the reverse with fellas, right? It's like, hey, I'd be attracted, something different. If you're attracted to somebody, that's something different. And he's like, hey, point them out to me. I want to go and actually see them and all that kind of stuff, right? Because we're the kings of double standard. We absolutely do that. But he's like, don't even worry about it. It's nothing serious. I love you and whatnot. And as they go and actually get ready for bed, turn out the lights. He says, good night, Gina. And she's like, good night, Daryl. Why they just had this back and forth about attraction, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, again, them playing the that they love each other. It's always that same reoccurring thread that happens all through these episodes. This is why you have that Martin and Gina love, that great example of love as far as relationship, young love, black love, whatever you want to actually call it. Was their relationship perfect? No, it was not. But they put themselves through a lot of different things, real situations, what have you. And this was another example of them being able to go and actually survive, a threat to their relationship. So that's the end. So that's the episode Radio Days. What did I think overall? This was what I would call a decent episode. It was an okay episode. It was very good relationship writing. Okay. When you start talking about, relationships where they can go, different people that could go ahead and actually not even intentionally come in there and kind of interrupt the flow, interrupt the going on and things like that. And that type of stuff happens, right? And they had they've written Gina's character very strong, very confident, whatever. They wrote Martin's character reasonable, of saying like, having that desire or whatever, but he never gives into it, whatever, because he absolutely loves her. And it was a well-written relationship type of show. However, it was not written for comedy like this. There were not very many laughs on here. I mean, the thing of Stan and Sean about him getting jumped or whatever, that was kind of like a little bit of a chuckle laugh, maybe a little bit of the innuendos that Kim Fields was like kind of slinging out there for Martin. There just wasn't a whole lot of laughs, and that's what kind of downgrades this for me, not being like anywhere, like I said, well written one. And you even had a lot of cameos, like the cultural snapshot of the radio personalities in this is like, and having Kim Fields are the reasons to watch this particular episode for me. It's definitely not going to be one that you'd want to put in there like, oh, let me show you why Martin was a great radio show or great TV show back in the 90s. This is not a strong episode for that. This is a good one of showing like, hey, people want to be on that show, and here's, radio personalities and legendary Kim Fields and all that kind of stuff. That was great. But from a writing standpoint, there were not enough laughs here. Nothing was written in for that. And so not a strong episode in regards to laugh, pretty good on the writing, and it was just okay. But yeah, that's what I have for Radio Days. If you made it to this far, made it to the end or whatever, I appreciate you. Do me a favor down below if you want to go and actually give me some comments or whatever. Otherwise, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, or even possibly share it, or you do me the real thing, go and actually subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to keep on going, do the entire Martin series, God willing, and maybe even get through that Thursday night lineup, because that was a very impactful portion of shows that went and actually premiered during Fox Thursdays in that mid-90s. So that's where I'm at with it. But tell me below what you guys think, thought, all that kind of good stuff. But as always, it's about that time. I can't help you. Have to let it happen. It is what it is.
I've been waiting to say this all year, and I'm gonna say it. And this is a good time. Get the stepping. Now, don't you feel tough?
Yeah.
Don't you feel strong?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like going home?
Sure.
Then get the hell out of my apartment and
Back up a taste? Just a taste. Just give me some room. Hey. Okay, the door's gonna slam about now.